Welcome to Behind Buzz. On a late August afternoon in 2021, Kunming held its breath. Thousands watched as 15 empty towers, never lived in, awaited demolition. The countdown echoed, then the towers folded in on themselves, collapsing in a controlled implosion. A monstrous cloud of dust swallowed the skyline. The video went viral, proof of China's real estate crisis and ghost cities. 4 years later, the dust has settled, but the questions remain. The real shock isn't the collapse, it's what rose from the rubble. The Liyang Star City towers were born from the optimism of the early 2010s, meant to transform Kunming into a gateway to Southeast Asia. Developers raced to build a self-contained city, apartments, offices, shops for thousands. But the dream faltered. The developer ran out of money, and construction stopped in 2013. For 8 years, the towers stood incomplete. Locals called them the ghost skeletons. Windows missing, rebar exposed, wind whistling through empty shafts, a daily reminder of broken promises. The project was stuck in limbo, too expensive and risky to finish, too damaged to save. Rain and time had compromised the structures. Engineers declared them unsafe. Demolition was cheaper than repair, a cold calculation, writing off billions. This wasn't an isolated case. China's growth model relied on real estate, but sometimes supply outpaced demand. Ghost cities and shoddy tofu dreg projects became common. The Kunming demolition was drastic but necessary, a painful admission that the build-at-all-costs era had hit a wall. It was a form of urban surgery, cutting out the rot before it spread. The relentless cycle of construction had finally reached its breaking point. The city was left to reckon with the aftermath. The demolition was a feat of engineering, a carefully choreographed collapse. Months of planning, thousands of holes drilled, over 4 tons of explosives placed with surgical precision. The goal: make the towers fall straight down, sparing nearby hospitals and malls. A 2-kilometer exclusion zone, 5,000 residents evacuated. Tension thick in the air. Mr. Wei, a local shopkeeper, recalled, "It felt like preparing for a typhoon, not a demolition. Engineers double-checked every wire, every charge. One mistake could be catastrophic." The button was pushed. Blasts echoed. Thud, 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 like a giant's footsteps. For a moment, the towers seemed to hover. Then physics took over. The buildings folded downward, collapsing like accordions. In 45 seconds, the tallest tower vanished. One tower, too close to a subway line, was left standing, untouched amid the chaos. The dust cloud turned day to twilight, sweeping through empty streets. When it cleared, a mountain of rubble remained. 1,000,000 cubic meters of debris. The ghost skeletons were gone, and the city braced for what would come next. For years, residents lived in the shadow of the ghost skeletons. Blocked sunlight, blighted views, broken promises. Mrs. Chen, who lived across the street, said, "We were promised a beautiful city center. Instead, we got these ugly bones." The demolition brought relief and anxiety. Would their homes survive the blast? Would the dust be toxic? Families evacuated, sealed windows, and watched from afar as the towers fell. When they returned, their homes were intact, but dust-covered. For the first time in years, sunlight poured in. Mr. Wei remembered. It was like a weight lifted. The view was different. It was good. Cleanup was massive. Street sweepers and hoses worked for days, but relief gave way to uncertainty. Now there was a vast, empty wasteland in the heart of their community. What would replace the towers? More high-rises? Another decade of construction? The government promised a modern, green, luxurious development. But residents had heard promises before and seen them broken. Skepticism took root, a quiet wait-and-see attitude. The land was cleared, but trust was not so easily rebuilt. The community watched, wary of what would come next. 5 years later, the site of the demolition defied expectations. The rubble was cleared in a year, and a new developer announced plans for luxury towers and gardens. For a while, it seemed the cycle would repeat. Construction equipment arrived, foundations prepared. But then, quietly, work stalled. The real estate market had cooled. Speculative building was out. The grand project was no longer viable. The site became the green scar, a fenced-off expanse of earth. Weeds and shrubs took over, rainwater pooled, birds returned. A wild patch in the city's heart. Some saw an eyesore, others a symbol of uncertainty. The promised future felt distant. Yet, the empty land began to attract people. First a few, then more. Gaps appeared in the fences. People slipped in for quiet walks. The Green Scar was not destined to stay empty. A new, unplanned transformation was about to begin. One led not by developers, but by the community itself. The land was waiting for its next chapter. The most surprising outcome wasn't financial or architectural, it was agricultural. It started with an elderly woman, tired of expensive vegetables, who cleared a patch and planted bok choy. Neighbors followed, carving out small plots, bringing tools, and planting seeds. Within 2 years, the site became a sprawling, unofficial urban farm. Hundreds of families grew corn, tomatoes, beans, chilies, even fruit trees. From nearby apartments, the view was now a lush, productive landscape. The land, once valued for luxury towers, now produced fresh food for the community. Elderly residents found purpose and connection. Families brought children to learn about growing food. Mr. Liu, a retired engineer, said, "This is better than any park. Here, I meet friends, get exercise, and eat fresh food." The authorities faced a dilemma. The farming was illegal, but evicting elderly gardeners would be unpopular. For a while, they looked the other way. The community had reclaimed the land through use, not ownership. The failed real estate project had solved unexpected problems: food security, social isolation, and lack of green space. The farm became a symbol of resilience and ingenuity. The land's value was redefined by those who worked it. The Kunming farm story is told by those who made it. Grandma Zhang, 82, said, "I grew up on a farm. In the city, I felt caged. The farm bridged generations, a gift of life." Li Wei's son learned food's true origin. Some residents complained about their view, but most embraced the farm. Farming continued under a temporary agreement. In the end, maybe this is the real luxury. The Kunming demolition became a parable for modern China. The collapse of 15 towers marked the end of an era, an admission that debt-fueled speculative building was unsustainable. The dust cloud forced a reckoning with the costs of unchecked growth, but the years that followed revealed hope. When top-down plans failed, bottom-up solutions flourished. The urban farm showed that land's value isn't just in buildings, but in community, food, and purpose. The world saw the demolition as failure, but the real lesson came later. A city is more than concrete. It's a living ecosystem of people. The farm proved that communities, given space, can create their own solutions, often more humane than any master plan. Progress doesn't always look like shiny towers. Sometimes it's a row of corn in the city's heart. The future of the Green Scar is uncertain. Development may return. But the farm has planted a new idea. There are alternative paths to urban well-being. The legacy of the fallen towers is no longer just collapse. It's a garden, a lesson carved in earth. In Kunming, life found a way to grow from the ruins.